Okay, well, I see it's 5 o'clock, so I'm thinking we'll go ahead and get started,
Oh,
and we may have some people
hmm
joining as we go along, so we'll keep monitoring that along the way. So as Allison mentioned, I'll just highlight it again here on the screen here. You can see the different icons that we were referring to, and so again, we will have fairly big group today. We're anticipating, so it's really helpful if everybody can for sure find the mute and the unmute button, so we can minimize any background noises. And then next to that, there's that camera icon. So you can click on that and put a line through it. Although we like seeing your faces, once we get the chef up and going, we want to be able to focus all that bandwidth so everybody can see her on the screen. And then the chat function, as Allison mentioned, there's a little bubble, has some lines in it, says chat. And if you click on that, it'll open up another window to the right where you feel free to interact with us there, ask some questions. Allison and I will be monitoring that as we go along and be your advocates to, bring any questions forward to Chef as we go along. So, so glad that you're here with us today. And did I miss anything, Allison, that you want to add?
no, I say we jump in. We only have a great hour together, so
I
we're gonna
know.
have fun. And everyone just have a good time tonight. We have this wonderful chef with us, so if you are cooking, we love it. If not, we're gonna just jump in and do a little introduction and get going.
Absolutely. So speaking of which, I'm going to come on camera here too. So there's the three of us that are on the screen here that are with you this evening. So we've got Chef Alyssa. She's been a personal chef for over 25 years. So yay, combining all her great flavors and in her nutrition know-how. We're really happy to have her here with us. What a special night. And then we also have Allison. Allison can wave hi. She's one of our wellness coaches and health educators on the Big Island. And then myself, I'm Heather Charles, so I'm the health education coordinator and wellness coach for Maui. So we're spread across the islands here with you tonight, jumping in together to learn some healthy cooking. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we will kind of keep our cameras off for the duration of this, just so we can save on that bandwidth and put all of our attention and resources towards having Chef showcase her cooking skills this evening. Um, Now you might be asking yourself, okay, what's so special about this whole foods plant-based diet? Why should I even consider moving in this direction? And the tip for you is that because it's really the only diet shown to reverse coronary artery disease, one of the leading causes of heart disease, which is responsible for 1 in every 4 deaths over the age of 35. That's how powerful nutrition can be to our health. And I know sometimes changing our eating can seem a little daunting. And it's why this phrase on the screen here I think can best sum up what we're trying to accomplish. And this is from Michael Pollan. He's an American author and a journalist. He's written several books about food and health, and he coined this phrase to simplify it. And it's just eat food, not too much, and mostly plants. And that's really what this class is all about, bringing together that plant-based nutrition along with some culinary school skills to really empower each of you to take care of your own health. And I know lots of us know that vegetables are probably good for us, and maybe we're eating a few of them. And usually a major barrier to eating them is that they've not been really seen as being delicious. They're often seen as more of like a chore to eat. We hope to really shift that mindset and open you up to a new way of experiencing healthy food. Now, we do also acknowledge that there may be a wide range of people attending tonight. Some of you might just be wondering, how do I get a few more veggies into my diet? And others of you may be exploring shifting to a completely plant-based diet. So there's a wide spectrum. This class is all about supporting you with resources to move in towards the direction that you choose to go in. So some of our recipes will have, oil or nuts, or you might see an occasional egg, and we're going to give the chef the opportunity to share any substitutions for those things. If you're not going to be incorporating those into your diet, feel free to ask your questions in the chat too, and we'll address them there. But overall, we're just happy that you're here and just enjoy watching and learning together. Now, before we jump into the recipes, I also want to share a short video clip from a series that Stanford put together in 2016 titled Food and Health. And it's a series of 17 videos that they're very short, 3 to 5 minutes in length, and they give really practical skills and information on why we might want to eat healthier and how we can make simple steps to do that. So we're going to play one of those short videos with you today, and we do encourage you to check out the rest of the series on your own. They can all be viewed on YouTube, and I think Allison is putting the link into the
I don't,
chat now to be able to view the
I gotta
videos.
grab it. Unless you
Oh, you
have
gotta
it
grab it.
still.
I
You
think
got it.
I've
You
got
do it.
it.
You do it.
Maybe I can
If
put
not,
it
I'll grab it.
here.
Yeah.
Let me
She's,
copy and
otherwise I'll
paste
get
that
it
in
while
here.
it's on there. Thanks, Heather. You're faster than me
There
on
it is,
that.
you guys.
Otherwise,
So you can
all right.
save that one in there. Oh, perfect. It shows
Perfect.
up quite nicely. And then let me just take a minute and switch our screens here. We're going to play this short video and then we'll get to the cooking. So let me know.
I'll let you know.
You can see this.
Okay, I'll let you know if we can hear it, and then we can all watch along and get a taste of these great videos. Well, haha,
One of
taste.
the biggest pitfalls of the
Perfect.
typical Western diet is the fact that it lacks the amount and variety of plant-based foods that human beings need to protect their long-term health and maintain a healthy weight. The average American consumes less than 2 cups of fruits and vegetables every day, less than half of the recommended daily intake. So, for the majority of people who wish to improve their diets, one of the most important things they can do is to increase their daily consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables. But it's also important that these foods are prepared in a way that supports our health. And that's where knowing how to cook tasty vegetable dishes can be such a powerful skill to have. One of the best ways to start any cooked vegetable dish, or any savory dish for that matter, is to chop and saute onions in a small amount of olive oil. And if you like the flavor, you can add a little bit of garlic as well.
Onions are the basis of so many dishes. And in fact, I think one of the great impediments to cooking is people's dislike of chopping an onion. And you just have to get over that.
Sauteed onions are the first step to an amazing number of meals. From this flavor-rich starting point, you can add chopped veggies like zucchini or spinach with a bit of salt and pepper to make a delicious veggie breakfast omelet. You can make a simple tomato sauce by adding chopped or blended tomatoes and a touch of salt. And you can make a colorful vegetable stir fry with almost any vegetable you happen to have in the fridge. Just chop it up, then flavor with some soy sauce or plum sauce or any other sauce you happen to like. There are some safety precautions involved, like keeping your fingers away from the blade of the knife and stabilizing vegetables by placing them flat surface down while chopping. But in reality, the health risks associated with vegetable chopping are probably far less serious than the health risks associated with not eating them.
And you don't have to eat organic to eat well. The first decision is to eat those fruits and vegetables. And if you can afford organic, great. Some organic foods taste better. They all have less pesticide, and that's important. But it's less important than the fact you're eating fruits and vegetables. Better to eat pesticide-laden fruits and vegetables than none at all.
Perfect. So glad we got
All
that in.
right.
So it's a great series, you guys, if you're trying to get more vegetarian based to just learn. It's in the chat, and we're glad anyone just joining now. We're just jumping on in. And Heather, I'm going to let you, do you want to pull up your video or the PowerPoint
Yep.
one more time? Perfect. So great.
Let's see. You don't see it yet, do you? Okay, there.
There it is. And just as I
Okay.
know we have someone as you're kind of going forward, if you have a
Mm-hmm.
phone, if you can keep muted on your phone, I don't want to mute anyone on their phone just in case they can't unmute it. So I see a few people just joined in. So thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. So I hope you found that video inspirational. I love how she says, right, the chopping the vegetables is not as risky as not eating the vegetables at all, right? We want to take that risk and dive in. I also want to just take a brief moment and touch on the handouts that were included in this class, specifically this healthy plate, the plant-based healthy plate. Some of you may be familiar with the food pyramid that many of us grew up with, but in recent years, the diagram changed a little bit to a healthy plate based on current research and health data. So the healthy plate is divided into these three quadrants, with half of the plate dedicated to vegetables, therefore making them really the star of the plate. So it's a little different than what most of us grew up with. You'll also notice that the term meat is not included as one of the food groups. It instead says protein, which means that this could be plant-based protein such as beans, lentils, or tofu, some of the ingredients that we're going to be focusing on in these once-a-month classes. So the main takeaway from the healthy plate is to make it colorful. I hope you notice all the color on there. And that tells you that you're moving in that right direction. If you want to learn more about the healthy plate in general, we do have a separate class called Get Your Plate in Shape that our dietitians teach, and that explores different variations of the healthy plate based on the type of diet that you want to adopt. So with all of that, let's get into the cooking part of it. And before we cook, I'm going to pull up the two recipes that Chef will be preparing today, which are the sweet potato tatsoi salad and a beautiful butternut squash soup. So she can briefly review those ingredients with us. As a reminder, your invite to this class also included the links to download these recipes for yourself. And if you have any questions again or need the recipes, we can pull it up again at the end of the class. So let me bring up the first recipe. And Chef, if you don't mind just kind of talking us through the ingredients of each of these, and then we'll get to the demonstrating part.
No problem. Okay, so we're this black bean sweet potato tatsoi salad. We're going to cook a sweet potato before we make the salad. And then we have tatsoi, which is a type of an Asian green, which I'll show you when I make the recipe. And there's other substitutes that you can use. Tatsoi you can't find in a grocery store. Then we have black beans and green onions. And then we make, we're going to season and roast some nuts. And I used pecans today. And then we're also making a citrus-based vinaigrette, which is olive oil, apple cider vinegar, maple syrup, smoked paprika, little orange juice. And then we're going to combine that all. So it's a nice, simple recipe, a lot of very flavorful, lots of colors, lots of nice textures.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That one's such a vibrant, both colorful and taste. Brings a lot. So anything else you want to add on this one, or should I go forward to the butternut squash?
I think that's it. I'll expound more when we're actually making
it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so this is actually what we're going to start with is the butternut squash soup with sage butter. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, yes, how we cut the butternut squash. So we're going to season our butternut pieces. We're going to roast them till they're cooked. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to blend the seasoned roasted butternut cubes with some hot water in a blender. And we're going to blend it to the desired consistency of what we like, whether you want it more thick or thin. And then we're going to season some fresh sage. We're going to heat it up in olive oil. You also have the option you can do with butter. And then you're going to heat it up until it gets really crispy. And then that's going to be your drizzle over the cooked soup. So you have this crispy sage leaves as well as the sage infused olive oil or butter. And then you drizzle that over the soup when you serve it.
Okay, that sounds great. And I know I'm going to come on camera. See, I've got my butternut squash right here, Chef Alyssa. I'm ready.
All right. Great.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully you guys have the chance to have your own recipes there. Like I said, we can pull these up at the end if for some reason you don't have yours with you. I'm going to take this down and then we will highlight Chef and her cooking.
Okay.
And again, feel free to chat in. And I know that it might be sideways for you, but we're going to have Chef go through this and hopefully everyone can see in the middle of their screen. You can chat in if you can see the setup in the center of your screen. And if you're only receiving audio, there is visual. I don't know if you want to try to log in and out again unless you're on a phone, but you should be able to see, or else people can thumbs up if you can see, and then we'll hand it over. Go for it, Alyssa.
Okay. All right. So this recipe calls for 2 pounds of a butternut squash, which of course, you know, when you're in a grocery store, it's kind of hard to, I mean, use a scale, right? I don't, I forget to use a scale, but I'm always visually looking at the butternut. And one that I bought, I just, you know, I'm looking at a medium. I was moving fast at the grocery store, and mine was about 2.5 pounds. So when I was cutting it up today, that came out to about 5 cups. So if that's any help to you. And then what I ended up doing was, because the time frame of this class, I actually divided the recipe in half, and I cooked up half of the butternut so that I'd be ready to show you the cooked version. And then I have the other half, which I'm going to show how to put it on the, you know, and bake it off on a parchment lined paper. So when I cut up a butternut, or when I'm actually choosing a butternut, one of the things that I like to look for is, you know how the butternut has the bulb at the end and then it's kind of long. I tend to like to look, you know, if you got several butternuts, I tend to like to buy the ones that have more of the long part than that big bulb part, because you're actually going to get more of the butternut squash. I don't know if they call it flesh or meat, or, you know, the actual vegetable part that you're going to be using is in that long part. You know, the bulb part has the seeds and air. So that's why I also kind of go by weight. You know, you want it to be kind of heavy, because as they get older, they weigh less. So sometimes, I don't know if you've ever bought like a sweet potato or cut up a butternut, and it looks like it's kind of almost starting to get air inside, or I don't know how to describe it, but it looks different. It's starting to age inside there. So you want to make sure that your butternut is on the heavier side. So hopefully that helps a little bit in choosing. And then when I go ahead and I cut my butternut, and I already have, but I did save some for you to, so I could show you. I usually either use a sharp knife, or if you've got a nice vegetable peeler, you can peel the skin with a vegetable peeler. I don't know if you can see that. Should I be under here? Is this better? See how the peeler will peel the skin away? If you're not really comfortable using the knife that much, this is an option. You've got a nice peeler. The other option is to, the biggest thing, and that was in the video, was to always make sure you've got your vegetable flat on the the cutting board. And that's exactly what I do with the butternut. I will cut it off that big bulb end, and then I will cut along the length enough of a size piece that I can then put flat on the cutting board, and then I start cutting the skin this way if I don't peel it, so that you have a firm surface and your hands aren't going to slip with the, you know, trying to cut around butternut squash. Hopefully that'll help. And then what I tend to do, like for this one, I would cut it in half, right? And then I would put it flat again. Let me put this in the rubbish. So then you do flat. And if you want 1-inch cubes, I try and keep everything a little bit even so that it'll cook evenly. You can layer these if you want. Then I will cut it again flat, right? And then if you can even cut this one across and then cut it. Okay. Now, if this part is the long part, I've peeled it. Again, I want to get a flat surface, flat edge. And then I always keep thinking flat so that you don't hurt yourself. Okay, so hopefully that helps a little bit. And if you can cut it, you know, a uniform size, then they'll tend to cook evenly. So that's kind of the reason why you want to aim for uniformity. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and I'm going to toss. Well, first I'm going to put my sauce in here. So what I have here is I have cumin, and I have salt, and I have a little bit of cayenne. So my dry ingredients, I'm going to put it in there in the bowl. And then I have maple syrup and olive oil. Now, if you're trying to avoid olive oil, you just want to cook this without oil, you can just toss this with a little bit of, instead of olive oil, you can add a little bit of apple juice or some other mild juice, or it could be like vegetable broth. The same amount of the oil, you would just substitute in some broth or juice. And then you'll toss your butternut. With that mixture, you want to coat all of the pieces. This is kind of a lot for this small bowl. But you get the gist. Okay, so I'm just working it from the bottom. You can see that they're getting coated. And then what I'm going to do, which I find one of my favorite kitchen tools is parchment paper, is I'm going to put it on a parchment lined half sheet pan. Could be a casserole dish. Remember, this is a half of a recipe. So just a little more than 2 cups because I did the demo. Added it in. Okay, and then you can put that in the oven and roast it. Today I found it was about 40 minutes, 45 minutes at 350. And then once it's cooked, it shrinks. So this is the cooked version coming out of the parchment paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in my blender.
Can I ask you a quick question? So when you test it, do you just put like a fork or something in to test it to see if it's done for softness?
I did do a fork and I kind of just mashed it. You can also just do it with your fingers. You see how it kind of mashes down?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Very good question. Okay, let me move this out of the way. This is what's so great about parchment paper, you know? And if it has any good pieces of butternut that's kind of roasted in there, you can scrape it off. And then you just throw that away. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of water. What the recipe calls for, because again I half this, is it's 1 1/4 cups water. I'm going to start off with half a cup. I always tend to use, I mean, it needs more than I think. And I'm going to make a little noise. So you can see here that it's, where am I? Camera. It's pretty thick. So I'm going to keep adding water.
Great question. Well, we got from Nicole saying, would a blender stick or, the immersion blender work okay here as opposed to a full-blown blender?
Yes, it would be, because this is nice and soft. Good question. Great kitchen tool. Now you can also, if you want, you can add another kind of a liquid. I think just there's so much flavor with the butternut that's seasoned. Water is fine, but you could add a little bit of almond milk, something like that.
We have another great question.
Yeah.
One more question for you while you pull it off is recipe says hot water. How hot?
You know, it can be warm. It can be hot to warm. It's not the heat. Sorry, I'm trying to think this one through. The if you add hot water and it comes right out of the oven, you don't then need to put it on a pot to heat it up, right? I mean, you can literally serve it. So that's kind of the reason why if you want to just like eat it right then, you have hot water, you wouldn't have to do the step of putting it in a pot and reheating it. So if you're gonna, you can add cool water, but the reason why, you know, for the hot is that you could serve it right away, yeah? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's true. So if you're scared of pouring, because sometimes if you put hot water in a blender, that top can pop. You want to be very safe. You can always
Yes.
do it cool and warm it on the stove. So
Right, exactly. And you'll see, I get conservative on things because I don't want it to be. I find with squashes, some tend to be more, especially with kabocha. But sometimes squashes can be more dense than others. So I get conservative on how much water to add initially. And then I kind of see what's going on. And then I'll add water to get the consistency I want. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. So you can bear with my thought process. And I kind of like my soup more on the thick side, but you can have it again however you want. So what we would do at this point is you can either put it in a pot to reheat it, right? And have it bubble and warm. And then when it's ready to heat, then you would pour it into a bowl. And then you would, because I only have one burner, I'm going to move on to cooking the sage. So I'm not going to put it in the pot yet, okay? Just so you understand what I'm doing.
we're with you. So your soup's in the blender, and then you're going to
Can
put
you show the consistency of the soup again now that it's done?
Yes. Yes. Let me get a spoon. It's a little thick, yeah. I don't know. Would you do it a little thinner yourself?
I think that looks
I think
great.
that looks perfect. Yeah, that looks delicious. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I know everybody kind of has their own ways they like it, you know, and I tend to like it a little more on the thick side. But I firmly believe that all recipes are subjective, you know, and you play with it however you want, right? So you got the ideas, you can add more spice, more salt. If you like things a little more salt, a little more cayenne, you can bump it up, more heat, you know, you can really play with things, flavors. Okay, so this is a very big pot for what we're doing, but it's the pot that works for my burner, so bear with me. So the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of butter or olive oil. So I'm going to use olive oil today, and then we would put it in I'm going to put it in my pot, and then I'm going to heat up. This heats up really fast, so I'm kind of doing it this way. And if you were going to not use oil, my thought would be maybe just toast these, like put them in the oven on parchment paper. I haven't done that before, but that would be my thought. And just kind of watch them. Maybe check them at 10 minutes, 350. So I've got my sage leaves. I've washed. I've taken off the stems. I'm going to put here in the olive oil that's starting to simmer. Now in the recipe it says, to cook until it starts to toast. what is the word? Crisp. And then it says take out the sage leaves and continue cooking. Now this is if it's butter, right? Because you want that kind of brown butter flavor. But since we're doing olive oil, I'm not going to continue cooking it after the sage gets crispy. It's going to be infused. And it's a very, very aromatic thing to do here. A lot of sage.
Chef, I don't know if this is hard for you to do. I don't want it if it's dangerous or
For
hot.
you?
Is it possible to push the pot just back a little so it could be more centered, just so they could see it, like not towards the peeler, push it backward, not towards you, the other way, just like a few inches. Yes, perfect. Thank you. That's perfect.
Okay.
I hope that helps for everyone. Great.
So, and I just want you to know this, again, this is working with an induction burner is not my norm. That's not what I do. So, I'm a little cautious with what I do because I know it heats up really fast. So I don't want this olive oil to go flying if I increase the temperature too much. But you can see how they're starting to get crispy. I don't know if you can see, but they're starting to, hopefully when I bring it out of the oil, they start to crisp up. They're changing the way they look and they're curling up. Okay, I'm going to take them out. And then I'm going to put them here on a paper towel.
They really go quickly, don't they? And the nice thing is you want to kind of keep them green. So they're crispy, but they're still green. If they go a little more, you might have gone too far. Is that a good key thought?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see they start to turn and kind of curl up. They get a little hard looking. Hopefully that's helping.
It's so good on so many things.
Yeah. I find that, when I buy these fresh herbs, it is such a dance to keep them in the fridge, right, without turning. But sage is pretty hardy. I have started to wrap, when you get those containers, right? I'll wrap the fresh herb in paper towel, and then I'll put it back in the container, and then I'll put it in a Ziploc. And that seems to work good. But yeah, it's kind of a challenge to, especially mint, I find. Mint can be very.
We got a nice suggestion. Yeah, while they're doing it, someone said air frying your herbs also works great. So that was a little tip. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't have an air fryer, so thank you for that. I'm going to say yet. Thank you for that that tip. Okay. So other options for this would be, I'm going to let that cool down for a minute. Other options would be to top this with a little toasted pumpkin seeds, if you don't want to do the whole sage thing. The original recipe actually called for popcorn, which I thought was very creative. But you're going to have to eat that right away because that's going to get soggy fast. At least that's my viewpoint on popcorn. Okay. I've tried it before. It does. It gets soggy really fast.
I bet.
Okay, so here we go. Here we go to not put something hot on the burner direct. So I'm going to do serving of my soup. And I'm going to do a little drizzle of my sage infused olive oil. It could be butter. It could be Earth Balance. And then
it looks so nice and it looks so creamy without any cream. That's what's so nice about this, the way it's blended. It looks delicious.
Here we go.
a beautiful presentation too.
We might have you lift it up to the camera a little when you're all done, so we can get a up close and personal.
Can you just eat those sage leaves? Or are they just for decoration?
Yeah. They're delightful. Yeah. So this would be a great recipe too for the holidays, huh? I know we're far off, but wouldn't that be nice as a starter?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yep. Yeah, and it's actually pretty simple. I mean, that's not I mean, the roasting the butternut squash is really it, and then that's it. And then make the sage and yep.
Do you mind lifting that up so we can maybe see it a little closer? The soup in the center, just that would be great. Let's see. There you go. Well, towards the.
It looks like it's blurry.
There you go. But you guys get an idea. There you go. Thanks. Perfect.
Anybody have any questions? This is a nice, easy recipe.
That's good. You're right on target. That's perfect. And pretty easy and quick to make, so that's nice. I know you have to roast, but if you do roasting ahead of time and then you have them there, it's something that you could whip up so quickly.
Right? Yeah. You know, definitely you could make this ahead of time and then just, heat it up the next day.
Yeah, you could make it into a two-part thing. Roast it one day and then cook it the next day as a meal prep.
All right, giving you a 20-minute check-in. We got 20 minutes for our next recipe.
Okay, so give me just a few minutes to clear and reset. Or maybe a minute.
Yeah, that's great. Take your time.
Any questions? Feel free to put any questions in the chat.
Yes, there was a question about cooking the squash before baking.
Yes,
it's in your recipe. You want to roast and have that roasted before. And maybe while she's setting up, sage is good. Chef, have you ever done rosemary with it, or does that go? I don't know. That's why I'm asking, because I have a rosemary plant out in my backyard and I need to find ways to use it. Not good?
I think infusing the rosemary and the olive oil would be great. Maybe not
with sage. No.
So if you do the sage and rosemary, and then you've got that double whammy of flavor, the layered flavor and the oil, and then just have the sage. That'd be fun to try. Yeah, good idea.
Well, it's just fun to think of ideas. I never thought of cooking sage leaves before. And then once I tried it from you, I just like eating them. I feel like I make the soup just to have the sage.
Right. I know it is a delightful little different way of doing things. Okay, so we're not going to need this, so I'm going to.
Yeah, and if you're joining a little bit late, so yes, you do cook the squash. So you chop the squash and then you put the seasonings on it. I think it was cumin and salt and stuff, and the herbs on it, and then you roast the squash. And then she was saying it took hers about 40 to 45 minutes at 350 degrees in the oven. So just keep an eye on it until you can, pinch it with a fork or with your finger, it's soft. Then you're going to blend up that roasted squash along with the water to be able to make it to the desired consistency that you want. So I hope that helps.
And just that colorful food.
Yeah, another small tip would be, you can cut them in smaller pieces, right? You can cut them in half-inch chunks. The bottom line is you kind of want to keep it as consistent in size because then it'll all cook evenly. But the smaller the piece, the faster your butternut will roast. So that's the bottom line.
And again, the idea, what we're trying to do here is the whole idea of our healthy plate, right? Is the more color you see looking back at you and getting more vegetables and different colored vegetables and finding what you need. Because sometimes we get stuck in one thing. And so that's what's so nice about having Chef Alyssa here is giving us some new ideas, some new flavor combinations to keep us going and trying something new with vegetables. This looks good. You're really making me hungry. I think we've done this right, Heather, to get this right at dinner time, so we're all motivated to make it.
Right.
Absolutely. Like I said, I got my butternut squash here looking at me, ready to be put to use.
Wow, that's wonderful. You are ready. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got the tatsoi and the sweet potato. So I wanted to talk about the sweet potato a little bit. So 1 cup of sweet potato. Actually, I just had like a medium sweet potato. And what I tend to do, you can cut it up in 1-inch pieces. But if you don't, there's several ways you can do this. So you can put them in, you can cube them. I'm trying to see what this recipe says, because really the recipe says, it doesn't say it completely, but the thought was that you could cube the sweet potato like the butternut. You toss it with olive oil and then you bake it in the oven. But if you don't want to do oil, or you don't want to go to that effort, what you can also do is you can just cut it in half, put it face down on parchment paper, and bake it off. So that's what then you don't have to use any oil. Sorry about that. So then what you do is you can then just cut it into chunks. Did that make sense? So there's a couple options on the way you can cook your sweet potato for this dish. Where am I? Here I am. Okay. Did I lose everybody? Or Heather?
No, it came back. You're still there. It's beautiful.
Okay,
So I just
sorry.
spotlighted you for a minute, but now your food is all in the center. Perfect.
So I wanted to show what tatsoi looked like before I cut it up. So tatsoi is grown. See, it's kind of like pak choi or bok choy. It's kind of like a choy, right? So it's got the long stem that's kind of white, and then it's got the little, this is more of a dark green, so it's got a little bit more of a bite to it than the gentle bok and pak choys. It's very delicious and nice and crunchy. So it's a nice way to use a raw Asian green in a salad. And it comes in, I cut the bottoms so I could wash it, but it comes in a little bunch, kind of like that. Let me see if I can show that to you. Or like this. Is that better? This way?
Perfect. That's better.
Yeah.
Yep. Like
Yeah, and then you just cut the bottom. So this is basically 2 bunches of tatsoi. So I'm going to, I've already cooked my sweet potato. I explained that. And then you check it, poke it with either a knife or a fork or something till it's soft. And then I'm going to take my tatsoi, which I washed, and I'm going to chop it however you like it. But I tend to chop it kind of like in 1-inch pieces. And then if you want to
got
cut
a question.
across, because that end part, yes.
What market do you find your tatsoi, or did you go to the farmers, or where do you pick yours up? I know we're on different islands, but where do you get yours?
Thank you so much. I actually have a friend who's a farmer, so she brought me tatsoi.
Perfect.
I'm trying to think of, but I'm trying to think of where I find, farmers markets would be the first option. I would say Foodland over Safeway and Times.
I know KTA on the Big Island has it, just so you
Yeah.
know. So that,
Right.
that sometimes KTA has it. I know that if you bok choy, I was very surprised. I know this isn't bok choy we're talking about, but they even sold that at Costco over on the Big Island. So that was nice.
Yes.
But I have seen the tatsoi at KTA and Foodland as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be my thought. But bok choy works really good as an alternate. So if you can't, you might want to just do it that way. Okay.
Yes, and Whole Foods, we heard they have it too. We don't have Whole Foods over here, but you guys are lucky you have it there.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Yeah. Well, great. I'm glad that it's there. I don't shop a lot at Whole Foods. Or at least not a lot lately.
Well, you're lucky to
Okay.
have a farmer. That's why.
Oh my gosh, I am so lucky. Yeah. Okay, so we got the tatsoi in there, and this is just really nice. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna toast up the nuts. So again, kind of like the butternut, I toasted half the nuts, and then I'm gonna show you how to toast the other half of the nuts. So I've got my bowl, and what we've got here is we have maple syrup, sriracha, smoked paprika, and salt. So this is half of that recipe. I'm going to put it in here, and I need a spatula. Hold on. This is the day that I use every utensil in my kitchen. Lots of fun. Okay. All right. So smoked paprika is a wonderful little flavor enhancer to have. I mean, you could use liquid smoke, but boy, smoked paprika goes so many places, and it's just a wonderful smoky flavor. I know that Dr. Jun has said in the past that some paprikas and smoked paprikas can be very hot. So be careful, read the label, make sure you're not getting one that's going to blast your taste buds away unless that's what you like. Okay, and so then I have these wonderful pecans my brother sent to me as a gift. So I'm going to put in my pecans. I'm going to toss them. So all of that, those flavors with the maple, sriracha, liquid smoke, not liquid smoke, the smoked paprika and a little bit of salt. That all gets in those little grooves of the pecans or whatever nut you're using. It could be almonds, it could be walnuts, but these roast up really nice. And then you're going to, again, put it on parchment paper, parchment lined baking sheet. Lay it parchment flat. Let me see if I can do that really quick. No. Okay, so then I'm just going to line my parchment onto my other, I have 2 baking sheets. And then I'm going to lay it flat. And then you're going to roast it. 350, 12 to 15 minutes. But I did find today that this takes about 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes. It was starting to smell. So when your nuts start smelling or things start smelling, check it and just make sure that it's not starting, because pecans can tend to burn quickly. And I have a toaster oven in my kitchen, so sometimes I wonder if, using a toaster oven, maybe it cooks things a little quicker. Not sure, smaller space. But I smelled it, I checked it, it was perfect. And then these are the ones that I took out of the oven, and they're nice and crunchy. You just let them sit for a bit, and then they dry up, cool, and get crunchy. So then these are wonderful that you top your salad with when you're going to eat it. I tend to add it kind of in right before eating, because if it sits in the salad like overnight, it's going to get kind of soggy again. So I tend to like to add my toasted nuts when I'm going to eat. Okay.
Fabulous. I'm going to give you about a 5-minute warning just because we're getting, just so we can keep it going, because if you have to make the salad dressing, just so people have questions for you too.
Nice and easy. What I've got here is I have the salad dressing, olive oil, apple cider vinegar, and maple syrup. That's all in this bowl here. And then I have here again the smoked paprika and salt. And then I have orange juice. So I am just going to combine it. Oh, that's going to be interesting. And let me see if I can not make a mess. I'm going to stir it over my lettuce greens. How's that?
Perfect. Not trying to rush you at all. We just want to have time, I think, to see the recipe or ask you questions at the end. Yeah.
Doing great. So I tend to not use all this dressing, I mean, you can coat it however you like. And one of the questions might come up if you're not using oil in your salad dressing. One of the things I would suggest is either adding in some of your cooked sweet potato, mash that in so it can be a binder for the rest of the flavors. You don't need a lot. Or you could use some apple juice again, or some vegetable broth. And then that can be used instead of the oil. So then what we have is basically we're going to toss it all together. So I have my greens in the bowl. I've got my sweet potato. I've got some sliced green onions. And just quickly, I want to say you could add in, if you don't have green onions, I had a hard time finding these. You could add chives if you have chives. The other thing you could do is if you have leeks, I would suggest cutting up your leeks and roasting them with the sweet potato. So it would be really flavorful if you do it that way instead of raw.
That sounds good. I love leeks.
And a
Yeah.
good reminder to wash those leeks well before you do it,
Yes,
because they've
it's
got
very
some
important.
Get the
sand in
sand
them.
out of them.
Yep, get that sand out of
Lots
them.
of sand. Thank you. And then
Not
I
the
have
ingredient.
a cup of canned black beans. You can see how flavorful and colorful this looks. And then you're just going to toss it. I'm going to start out with half the dressing. See
And
how far.
while you're doing that, do you rinse the black beans before you put them in,
I
or
did.
just? Okay.
Yes,
Thank
they were
you.
canned, rinsed. Thank you very much. I think it says rinsed and drained in the recipe. Yeah, rinsed and drained.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and you know, you could plug in a different bean, but I just think black beans here. The size is perfect. The color, I think it's just a wonderful combination of flavors, colors, crunch, textures. You got some protein in there, and then what I'm looking for here is to just see if the leaves are coated. Yeah. As they coat, they will soften a little bit because of the acid in the dressing. And then at the very end, when I'm going to, okay, if I can gracefully do this is my little serving bowl. Then I'll top it with some of these pretty nuts. This is just the way I would do it because I like my nuts
Crunchy. It's nice. And it's nice to me. I
can
like
also
it.
chop those up.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say it gets better to me. The flavor is even the next day. It's still hearty enough that it really lasts the salad.
Yes, yes. And then, you know, you could also add more dressing after it sits for a bit or the next day, but I just don't want to soak it. Okay, does anybody have any
Looks
questions?
beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, what's
Questions for
nice is,
Chef.
yeah, as they're typing it in, is sometimes we think that vegetables can be a lot really expensive or a challenge, but you can make so much with just 2 bunches of bok choy. Look at all of that food and all the food that you can make and how it really goes a long way. I think that's what I've learned as I'm getting more plant-based. I know that Heather's a vegetarian. I don't know if you're vegan or what you do, but I'm kind of new to it all. And so learning how much it really feeds a family has been fantastic.
Wonderful. So hopefully I've given you some tips that will help as far as prepping your food, easy alterations for putting it in the oven, ways to serve it, and just maybe
That
have
looks
a couple
great.
more recipes to add to your repertoire.
Maybe
Beautiful,
lift
so
the
colorful.
salad up.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can lift the salad, the blue bowl up just to see it a little closer and now out towards the soup a little and more toward like a little other way and then back towards your blender. There we go. There we go.
There we
There
go.
we go. And then now towards your beautiful cloth.
There.
There you go. There you go. Look at
All
that.
right. And then
Wow.
this is
Healthy. I feel
Gorgeous.
healthy just looking at it.
Me too. I know I don't want to take it off the screen, but maybe we can, I wonder if we, oh no, if we put the PowerPoint up, just to show the recipe again. We can always put that up at the end, but that is beautiful. Chef Alyssa, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, that is gorgeous. I want to come on over and eat.
I know. Got all this food. Please come.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that awesome demonstration. And I will pull up the recipe in just a minute, but I do want to share just a few more things in case folks do need to leave right away at 6 o'clock. Let's see. Actually, I do have the recipe here. I'll put it up real quick before I get to the other sides. Can you guys see that on the screen? The black bean sweet potato tatsoi salad?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe you can take a quick snapshot of it with your phone. And as a reminder, all these recipe links were also included in your invite to the class. So not the reminder one that went out, I think 2 days ago, but in your original invite, which I think was a week ago. And John can maybe correct me if he's still here. But you'll see the links for both of these recipes in there.
Well,
Yep, that's correct. The link should be in the invite.
Okay, perfect. Great. And if that
okay,
wasn't
we have a
enough
couple
time, I
minutes
can
left. Yep.
come back to that. And just want to encourage everybody, if you enjoyed your class today, we hope that you'll come back again next month. So we do offer this class on the 4th Monday of every month. Oh, the next class is not April 25th. The next one is actually going to be May 23rd. My bad for not changing the date, but it will be vegetarian chili and save the tuna salad. So we're going to be focusing a little bit more on beans, which are wonderful for us. So here again are the dates of our class schedule for each month. And each month we'll be covering different recipes. So we hope you'll join us for each of those. And if you were inspired today and you want to make some changes to your health, and we also encourage you to partner with one of Kaiser Permanente's wellness coaches. This is a benefit to our Kaiser Permanente members. It's a free service. It's all done over the telephone. Ranges from maybe 15 to 20 minutes on the phone, and we focus on really creating actionable steps. So right, changing healthy eating can involve a lot of different aspects of it, right? I have to familiarize myself with ingredients. How do I chop things? Where do I buy them? How do I prep them? How do they taste? So we want to break that down into some smaller pieces and support you in starting to make that transition. So if you're interested in partnering with a coach, the phone number is there. You can also partner on make an appointment through kp.org. Did you want to say something else?
I wanted to
Yeah.
throw in a little something. We have amazing dietitians as well, and that's one of your benefits. So if you are really making changes, you can also go to kp.org and book yourself into an appointment with one of our amazing dietitians. So you got a team of people here that can really help you make some changes.
Yep. Yeah, and we encourage you to check out one of our other classes as well. Many of these are also taught by our dietitians. So like I mentioned earlier, just want to learn more about the healthy plate and the different, maybe you're deciding, do I want low carb or plant-based or Mediterranean? Then I encourage you to check out that class. We also have Viva Veggies, which is an introduction to plant strong eating. So if you're curious about learning more about plant-based eating and why that might be a good choice for your health, encourage you to check these classes out. We also have classes on pre-diabetes, diabetes, stress, you name it, and we've got it. Many of these things are also, you can register on kp.org under the appointments tab. So happy to stay on again and answer questions. Otherwise, we thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to Chef Alyssa for sharing your awesome knowledge and culinary skills with us. So inspirational. And we'll all hopefully go into our week eating food, not too much, and mostly plants, right?
I was just going to say that, Heather. If you
That's right.
guys
Your
forget
line.
everything else and you remember that, eat foods, not so much, mostly
Mostly
plants, you
plants.
are headed in the right direction. So, oh, yeah, thanks, Chef Alyssa. That was
Thank you.
fantastic. And I really hope everyone feels motivated to go and cook. And if you do and you want to email it to us, let us see it. That would be great. And we'll stay on for a few minutes if you have any questions.
Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely. I know I'm
you.
motivated.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey and Carrie.
Thank you.